Commission to order. And it looks like we have a quorum, so thanks for those that are here. And first item on the agenda is to approve the Planning Commission meeting minutes from November 12th. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll vote to approve. Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. That carries. Council representative report. I don't know if you want to do that or.
I don't have anything here that's going to help
I
me.
can give you an
All right,
update.
Rodney will do that. It's in the minutes basically.
Yeah, really, there's only one item that the Planning Commission is this on.
Ordinance, right?
There's a rezoning request for 1125 West Main Street, and the council will be considering that at their council meeting tomorrow night. So action has not been taken yet at the council level. That's the only item.
Okay. You guys hear us out there?
Can you? No microphone.
Test, test.
Okay. We'll see if we can figure that out.
Tech problem.
Yeah. Then we have staff reports would be next.
Included in your packet tonight is a staff report, just the summary of some of the activities that have been ongoing, a permit history of the year-to-date numbers, very similar to what we saw in 2017. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them for you.
Seeing no questions, we'll move to item number 5, which is a request by Bob Feller of Iconica for site plan amendment approval for the Kettle Park Senior Living Facility at 2600 Jackson Street.
Bob, you want to come up and give us a summary of your project?
For having me tonight. Appreciate you all being here. We actually came through and had approval on this sometime back in 2017. A request was made by the operator to provide an outdoor trash enclosure. Originally, the plan was to have all trash stored in the basement of the senior housing facility, but they realized after a period of time that to get from the memory care to the assisted living was going to be a pretty good haul. So they requested that we look into putting an enclosure in for a 4-yard dumpster. So that's the location that we're proposing right now. The intention is that the materials would be applied to the trash enclosure to make it match architecturally and aesthetically with the rest of the building. So the smart siding, similar colors and such. And again, we're trying to keep the size of it as small as possible. The intention is that it's a 4-yard dumpster and be sized as such just to protect that. Thought it was worthwhile to bring it back in front of you because there were a couple of other changes that occurred in the site as the plan matured from the previous approval, and that included the parking that's by the memory care. Yes, thank you very much. So in working with staff and with the fire department, we realized there'd be a safer solution if we provided more generous turning radiuses for fire trucks to gain access and such. So there were some modifications to that area to improve safety for fire truck access. Let's see, was there anything else, Michael?
Canopy in the memory care?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so there was a canopy also that connected the memory care entrance to the parking as a covered piece. We did pull that back so that it's off of the road. So again, fire trucks have the ability to free flow around the parking without any concern of hitting the structure. And I think we actually shrunk the footprint of the building by a few square feet. A couple of our units, we just realized we were oversized on those, so we tightened those up.
Your memo noted a number of things, but that was included in the packet. Also a modification at the front entrance.
Yeah, we shifted that a couple of feet because once the final survey was completed, it was realized that we had an existing street parking light standard in conflict with it, so we were able to shift that a few feet. And the access point, or the entry into the garage, we shifted that slightly to the plan southwest for you. And that was to gain a little bit lower pitch entrance into the parking garage structure. So felt that was better for the occupants. And then, well, I think we just reconfigured the walking path and moved the putting green outside of that space that was just identified. So again, all of these, the intention is that this was just kind of a maturing of the plan. Oh, there was one other piece. Department of Health Services required that we had an exit on the northeast corner of the building to the memory care portion. So we've added some sidewalk that wraps around the memory garden, connects up with the parking. So that's a life safety issue, concern that they had.
Okay. Is there any questions or comments from commissioners? Anything from staff? Oh, go ahead.
Just, excuse me, I think that those are all good improvements. It sounds like it's been very carefully looked over. We should go ahead with it.
Okay.
Losing my voice, I'm sorry.
Okay.
The slight modifications also affected landscaping. That's been reviewed for point compliance. So those things were taken into account and evaluated by staff as part of their submittal.
Okay. Any other comments? Otherwise, there's a resolution in the packet. I'd entertain a motion.
So
All right, there's a motion to approve the resolution
I'll second.
and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. That carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
When are
Appreciate
you
it.
expecting to be completed?
We are targeting, let's see, fall.
Fall?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I've been getting a few phone calls. Where should I direct them?
You can actually direct them to me, and I'll make sure they get to the operator.
Okay,
Yeah,
sounds good.
fantastic. Yeah, we're very excited about the project. It turned out very nicely.
Excellent.
Thank you.
You bet.
Appreciate the staff's help as well.
Thanks. You bet. All right, let's see. Item number 6 is request for design approval by Kendall Joseph for the front facade of the Coffee Cup at 355 East Main Street.
There's the applicants here. The picture that's on the screen actually is a different color scheme than what you, well, not a different color scheme, different arrangement of colors than what you saw in the packet. And they can explain that, but they were reversed on the submittal before. So the darker areas are the larger panels, and the lighter material is planned to be the trim. But certainly they can discuss their intentions here.
Yeah, thanks for having us, guys. Sure. Okay, I'll let Josh talk.
Yeah, the color design is based on a packet of colors that I have. It's a pre-finished product, so they are, kind of limited in the array of colors that you can get. One being it's like a dark red or a cinnamon color is called, and Irish cream, and then black trim inside of the red panels there.
What I tried to do is I tried to mimic the Norwegian Center, kind of go with their colors. That's what I kind of went off of.
Okay.
Anything occurring on the upper window trims or anything above the first floor?
Paint, right now, I believe it's blue.
Yep.
So we just paint it.
You do intend to modify that to match, or
Just
is that
paint.
going to for now stay the same color? See if I can get a picture of it.
I have a picture right here if you want to see too.
Here, I got it. Oh,
Yeah. Way above.
I think I've got one. Obviously, it shows some deterioration.
Yeah, that's the main reason why it's.
What kind of material are you using on the lower?
Smart side.
What is it?
Smart side?
I'm not familiar with that.
It is it's a wood product.
There it is.
It's composite material,
Composite.
plastics and resin. It's put underneath a lot of pressure. The paint finish on it is it's warranted for 30 years. Stuff's basically some stuff like an automotive kind of finish on the product.
So we won't be seeing you for a while then.
That should last a long time. One of the main problems is that the counter flashing was not done above
the storefront. I
Above
would
the
say.
storefront there,
Yeah,
yeah,
right there.
along that. So that we're going to be adding some counter flashing, which is copper colored aluminum to match the flashing upon the roof.
Okay. I think Rodney's question was about the upper.
Yeah, we'll just paint it the same color, the cinnamon color, the red, with the white trim around the window still.
And when are you expecting to do the work?
Within the next 5 weeks.
Okay.
It takes about 3 weeks for it to get the material in, and we start it as soon as that's available,
Weather permitting.
weather permitting. We can install it all year long.
Okay. You have questions? Anybody? Okay. No questions. I believe is there a resolution in here somewhere? All right. I'd be entertaining a motion.
I'll move to approve.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. No discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. Stay warm out there.
Yeah, we will.
Thanks a lot, you guys.
Thank you.
Don't forget to get a permit.
Absolutely.
Oh, thanks. All right, need these back?
I don't need those back.
All right, we'll pass these around. All right, we're gonna jump one item up, right? So we're going to number 8. Number 8 is a request by D&J Almy Partnership for extraterritorial land division approval at 2394 Leslie Road in the town of Dunkirk. Come on up.
Good evening. I'm John Almy, the partner of D&J Almy. And I guess it's pretty self-explanatory. We just wanted, the old farm buildings were removed, and we're just gonna lot it out and then rebuild a new home there.
Essentially just parceling off the homestead to have a
Yep.
separate
Yeah, that
parcel
was the
from
original homestead of that farm.
Can you just speak to the status of where it's at with the town and the county? I assume it's already been acted on
We have
by
a plan commission meeting with the township on Wednesday. The county was applied, and they have the meeting will be in January, as far as I know, on the, of what we're doing here, so.
Okay. And basically our process, it comes through this group and then it goes to the city council, right?
Correct.
So it'll be at city council. Right now, we're only planning on having one meeting in December. So it'll probably be the second Tuesday of January when the council would take action. There's normally not an issue with them, so.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions about this one? All right.
There's nothing that would prohibit this from the county or from the township or anything. It looks pretty straightforward, but
Certainly, they're still approval agencies, so if there's a challenge for them, they have the ability to object to it. I don't see a reason why the city of Stoughton should object to this submittal.
And that would give them some merit to it by having our approval already.
Yeah, obviously, we've deferred to the local municipality in most cases, unless there's something that's presses up against what our comprehensive plan and/or growth plans indicate. That's not the case on this one.
I'd move approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion on this one? Hear none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None opposed? You're good to go.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You bet. Okay, we want to go to number 9 or what?
You can jump back now.
All right.
Nobody else is here, so.
All right, so we're gonna go back to item number 6 then, or item number 7, which is a request by Forward Development Group for conceptual plan approval for Kettle Park West Phase 2.
We're really just gonna allow them to give us some of their project. It would be the
Okay.
best.
All right, go ahead.
All right, good evening. Dennis Steinkraus, Development Manager for Forward Development Group. I've got Jim Bricker with me, the planner. If you have questions on his 40-page site assessment checklist, he'll be the guy to talk to on that one, so. Basically, this is a revision of a plan, of a preliminary plat that was actually approved probably a year or two ago now. And I just want to point out some of the major changes to you. The brighter yellow are small lots with access on the alley that runs between them. Some of the homes will front Oak Opening Drive. The other ones will front and overlook the pond, wetland, kettle area behind them. That's a newer concept for the area here in Stoughton. It's very popular in Dane County. It's a price point home, probably in the range of $270,000 to $350,000 for that, depending on how many bells and whistles they put on the house. Usually it's a good product for families that are just starting out, small kids, grade school kids, and that gives them the ability to own something for a while and then move up as their kids get older. It's definitely a price point that's really not real prevalent in Stoughton right now, but it is in the Dane County area, and it seems to sell very, very well. In order to fit that in, we lost 250 multifamily units, and we just thought this would be a better product with the ability to attract young families to Stoughton. Because we lost so many of the multifamily units, we also, the requirement for parkland went down considerably. So you can see a much smaller park area here on this plan. We do have a meeting with the park board coming up as far as what kind of amenities will go in there. But right now, that park area generally fits the requirement for the amount of residential units that we have up there. This plan also affords Jackson Street to be extended through the property and then ultimately westerly till it probably hits Star School Road. It is classified as a collector, but what we're looking at is it would be allowed to have driveways on it where most collector streets wouldn't, because I think your comp plan and our plan envisions more single-family housing extending to the west. We will need to do a comp plan amendment to get that kind of housing in there because of the change from multifamily to what would technically be a single-family housing. The other thing we're going to ask for as part of the process is to allow us to start some of the regular single-family lots that are showing up there by the 2B area, and we'd like to get those into construction just as soon as possible, going through the system of reapproving a preliminary plat and getting that going while we're going through the comp plan amendment for the small lot packages. I think those are kind of the major changes from what we had came back a couple years ago. And
Okay. Alderperson Jensen?
Thank you for coming, Dennis.
Yep.
So 2C is what you're looking at right now. That's what you're going to be putting in first.
no, 2B,
2B.
2 That's that
Oh, okay.
that
'cause
single-family
2C
area up on the north
Okay,
north
'cause
side.
2C is what's going to change, require the change.
Right, 2C is going to need the comp plan amendment, but what we'd like to do, the Oak Opening Drive road has not changed alignment since the previous plat or anything, so that's right where it always has been. And that area of 2B was pretty much looked like that on the previous plan, so that complies with the comp plan. We just need to get an amendment for that 2C area, basically, those smaller lots.
If I could,
Sure, keep going.
the private alleyways, I see that you had made a point to put in there that the fire trucks were capable of making,
Yeah, we've-
getting in there without a problem, right?
Yeah, I don't think we've gone to the fire department yet, but
Okay, that was my question. Have you consulted with them?
We've kind of had our engineers go through it, look at turning radiuses for your various truck movements, and we will be sitting down with the fire department as long as everybody's comfortable with this plan.
Then my other question, I had two more questions if I could, please. How many single families in phase two complete, the whole development, how many do you have on there? How many are you planning?
Single families, there are, in the lighter yellow,
160, isn't it?
there are 74 units.
Okay,
In the brighter yellow, there's another 81 units. So in single-family units, there's a total of 155.
and the orange unit is multifamily.
The orange is actually, I
Duplex.
think that's still a duplex type thing. Those are gonna be duplexes, I believe, down there in the orange. And there are there's 18 units there.
Okay,
The only
so-
real multifamily we have is in that
you're
4.3
looking at
acres. Yeah,
You're looking at 155 single-family homes then in this
Yes.
project.
yes.
What would you say, just best guess, would be the medium price for those 155 homes?
I'd say 300,000, give or take a
300,000.
little bit.
Okay.
We can, I mean, if this gets approved, next time we come back, like for the formal approvals, we'll have kind of a sample housing type for you, so you can see what the look's gonna be, some sample floor plans, that kind of thing. But, like I said, it's a big seller in the Dane County area right now.
Go ahead, Tom.
You mentioned these 150 now units, is that correct, that would become multifamily? And they're 250, I'm trying to catch up with this from 6 months ago or a year ago.
No,
So we're talking about these 150 multifamily units that all would average at 250,000 each? Is that, did I miss something?
They're talking about eliminating the multifamily that was originally in the yellow area
Okay.
and replacing them with these,
Small, single family.
yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I
Yeah, and
misunderstood.
there's 155 total single-family lots with this concept.
Okay.
So there's more single-family homes and way less multifamily. In fact, they show a lot for multifamily, but they don't have anything on it right now.
4 acres.
4 acres.
Yeah. Right here.
By doing that, they were able to reduce the number of units, which would reduce the parkland dedication, so they could put more single-family homes on there, which sounds like there's a market for it. Go ahead.
One other thing. Glad I understand that better, but does this mean you're getting some kind of feedback from people they might want to buy homes in that range?
Yeah. Well,
and,
it's
and asking about property to do that?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I mean, that's about as low-end price point as you're gonna find in the Dane County area, is that higher 200s to low 300s.
I think there's a shortage of homes in that price point is what I'm hearing throughout Dane County. Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah, definitely. And actually expanding further than Dane County. We're working with Waukesha County and some people down there, and they're looking at this same product down there to get more workforce housing down there, people that can own a home, you know, if they have a mid-range paying job.
So I guess the interest rate's not going up, right?
It may or may
No.
not, but
Political joke, sorry.
Okay. Did you have something, Phil?
Yeah, I'm curious what the current situation is with the Oak Opening Drive to 138 connection. at this point? Is there any word on
Well,
what's gonna happen there or when it's gonna happen there?
I can't answer the when, but we did obtain a permit to have that intersection permitted, that you can do it there. There's always been a question as to what that timing is, and are we gonna wait for it so that when we do build it, it may become more of a roundabout from the get-go, or is it gonna function as a right-in, right-out for a number of years? And I don't think we've really gone through that process yet to see what the timing there is. If you go back and look at all the traffic impact studies that were done, this intersection is not required to pass the cars that are in this residential area and commercial area through there. They can all function at the Jackson Street stop and go lights, and we're also gonna connect Opening Drive up to Deer Point Trail, is it? Deer Point Trail. And ultimately, the DOT's got it on their radar to get a roundabout at Deer Point, 51 and Roby. I think in 2020.
2022, advanceable to 2021 is when this roundabout up here is supposed to be installed.
And somewhere in that interim, you guys are planning on doing Opening Drive to connect up to there, or after the DOT improves that?
I guess we haven't really gone through those scenarios yet as to what that timing would be. We've talked to Rutland, I believe is the township there.
Yep.
And we do have a plan as to what that improvement would look like, with a little bit widening of the pavement and a bike trail going up through that way.
But your intentions are to preliminary and final plat 2B in 2019, right? First, this part here?
Yes, we'd like the
But-
preliminary plat, the whole
Right.
layout.
And then final plat 2B.
Final plat 2B, and assuming we can get through the comp plan amendment, we'd also like to do at least that north portion of 2C, maybe midsummer-ish.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you would plat it out with the contingencies to complete certain things along the way?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess that would be some of the negotiation.
Part of the development agreement.
Yep,
You'll have to
development
articulate
agreement
that.
We'd look at doing.
Okay. Do you have anything else, Phil? Otherwise, I'll move to Greg.
I do have something on the city comments. There was a question, I think it was the number 6 of the city comments, regarding the on-street bike lane on Jackson connecting past the Oak Opening intersection. And on what number is this? On this graphic that I'm looking at of that intersection of Jackson and Oak Opening, the bike lane just stops at the intersection of Oak Opening, and I would definitely agree that, yeah, that bike lane should continue on Jackson, but it just kind of, what I'm looking at, it just basically terminates there for some reason, unless I'm not seeing something.
Yeah, that was in their packet. I could offer some explanation, at least of some of the planning thoughts we had for that.
Okay,
Probably need
that
to
one.
put up,
it's right?
Am I getting close?
Yep, right there.
yeah. This was the
Go like that.
intersection design as you're trying to merge Jackson Street, which comes from Highway 51 this way, as more of a commercial collector that has on-street bike lane on both sides of the travel lanes. There is a multi-use path on one side of Jackson Street on the north side, and no parking. Now, when we get up to Oak Opening Drive, this facility, going left and right, the street becomes more residential in character. We have houses fronting on it. That's that smaller lot product. There are no driveways there. All those are accessed by that alley. As you go west on Jackson Street, those all become conventional single-family homes that are going to have driveways. And the thinking was that with the number of possible driveway crossings, we'd run into more traffic conflict, being back out of your driveway, conflicting with potential bicyclists, pedestrians on that multi-use path. The westerly extension of the multi-use path, as you come this way, you can go this way to the park, or this way, and there's two options to get farther west. If you go back to the overall site drawing. No, greater. This one was one thought, we'd come up here, the bike path would then come out this way in a green, kind of a greenway setting. That facility could either be there or it could be here. We began to work through how the drainage and grading would work farther west, having that grade separated bike lane multi-use path in that greenway, probably to the south of Street B, seemed to make more sense because then it became more accessible to potential park facilities that would be to the southwest, that woods and whatever other direction the city was headed with their overall park plan. But the real reason we took it off of Jackson Street was because of the driveways that would be coming out.
Yeah, I think I'd still like to see it back on Jackson Street in addition to that Greenway path trail. I like that idea too, but I think putting it back on Jackson Street, especially if the plan for Jackson is to connect it up over to Star School Road, that bike lanes should be there.
Are you talking about both sides or one side?
It's gonna have to be on both if it's a lane.
Yeah, so Jackson Street was drawn as either on-street, as both, actually on-street bike lanes, then a parking lane, then a grade separated path. That seemed to be some of an overkill, and I was more concerned about conflict with driveways, is what was happening through there.
I still think it would work, I mean, it would work somewhat similar to Kings Lynn in what I'm thinking.
You're proposing parking on one side, have
Something similar to that,
parking on one side, bike lanes on both sides.
if that would work.
Doesn't have a path. What he's talking about here is a path.
It's true.
But, I mean, this is really why we're here, is
Yeah.
to kind
Yeah.
of get
Yeah.
comments and
And I mean,
then,
I would prefer to have bikes on the path, not on the street. My personal,
Yeah.
that's me.
Well, bikes on the path as far as, kids on sidewalk bikes,
Yeah.
mixing with people on strollers and people jogging and all that sort of stuff. But I think as a connector or collector, or whatever we want to designate it as, it just seems like, and especially since it has a bike lane on it now that just stops at Oak Opening, I'd like to see the bike lane continue west on Jackson,
The bike lanes or the bike path?
the bike lanes.
Bike lanes.
I'd like to see the bike path continue too, but I think the lanes on the street and then along with what you were pointing out is like the Greenway path or something like that, you'll find that you're gonna sell a lot more of these a lot faster. The more bicycle and path, bicycle, pedestrian, stroller, jogging path, whatever you wanna call them, the walkability stuff, the more that you have,
The
the
multi-use
quicker
path.
these things are gonna fly off the
I was
shelf.
trying to come up with a way to have a multi-use path that served not only this neighborhood, but whatever happens farther west. Was a more, what I was perceiving as a more safe travel condition, because I didn't have driveway crossings.
Yeah.
And so if I could separate those two uses, I think it made the site design work better. I don't totally disagree with the on-street bike lane, other than it's still, because it's, in this case, we just handle it as far as striping, but that in itself will help calm traffic speeds on that, because we have that. And we proposed, on the graphic, we proposed bump outs at the intersection itself to kind of help control traffic flow. But it was the conflict with the driveways that I was having difficulty with if it really became a busy type of intersection and street.
Want to talk about this parking?
Right. The other thought we were working through was this side being parallel parking. That was kind of the visitor parking for this density of housing. No, not unlike a normal residential street. The other side of the street had options to it, and my thought was either no parking scenario or space for parallel parking on the, what would be the northwest side of Oak Opening, or if the city wanted to explore angled parking. It really depends upon how many people you anticipate driving to this park. And it's not a big neighborhood park. You know, it's a fairly small park, so that's a question.
Go ahead.
Being a neighborhood park and not the destination park that we had before, I think you could probably limit the number of stalls that you would have there, depending upon what apparatus they want to put in there. But that would be my take on that. If I could, I got
Sure,
two questions.
keep going.
For Dennis. One is, when is the total build-out for this area then? What are you planning on for all of C?
Well, that's a
What,
good question.
2 year, 3 year?
I would say it's somewhere in the 3 to 5 range, most
3
likely.
to 5 year range, okay. So that, if that's the case, then there's plenty of time then to meet up with the roundabout going in at Roby.
Yeah, I mean, we
Problem
could,
there.
right.
And if needed, to get some kind of connection at 138.
Yeah,
So there's like a 3 to 5 year window there to take care of that.
yeah, you're not gonna have anybody living out here till, I would guess, spring of 2020, most
Okay.
likely. I mean, you might get a few in there, you know, next
Yeah.
year if we get going here right away.
Then,
But probably not living. Their house might be under construction. So really, first residence in 2020, you know, and then a full build out, you know, 3 to 5 years after that. I mean, you're past the roundabout constructions there. And
You should note that
Go ahead.
this layout, this design of land use, the single family, is about a 14% reduction in traffic
Yep.
from the previous estimate, so.
Then my last question, Dennis, would be the 4.3 acres on the west corner, southwest corner there. Is that, what's that, what's your plans for
that's
that?
a MR10 zoning. We really don't have a product design for that yet. We're still kind of going through that. There's some elevation challenges on that particular lot, so,
Could be green space,
maybe.
maybe?
I
Not-
guess.
not- Green space,
like-
I know is not profitable, but boy, it's nice.
Yeah, well, I think what Jim said is, after looking at this and talking to people and looking at everything, I think you're gonna see us rework some of this area south of Jackson Street down and encompassing this area that you're talking about, and I think we can do some better things in there.
So then my question, Dennis, to the mayor, do we need any kind of action on this tonight, or?
I'll let Rodney answer that. I mean, there is a resolution in the packet.
And at this level, you're not really doing more than giving guidance, because this is not the preliminary plat, but certainly the development community is interested in your feedback, so that they can try to incorporate what they're hearing, or at least consider what you're hearing.
To that end, then, I'd say that this is a marked improvement from what we first had. I was never real comfortable with the first plan that was put out there. I see this as a marked improvement. You're looking at 155 single-family homes, and based on the 300,000 average price, you're looking at, what, $46.5 million worth of assessed value. And, you know, if only half of those homes have a one student age child, that's about 77 additional kids to the school district, potentially to the school district. So I see this as a huge improvement. I'm really happy with it.
But I think that's one thing on those smaller lots. The other ones, as you move north and west, I mean, to us, that's people that either live in the small lot for a couple of years and then want to build, or other people in the community that are wanting to build a newer home and do something. I think there's going to be room for that as we go west.
Any other comments or questions or anything on, what we did is as you can see, we met as a staff level, and we went through and we just tried to highlight some things that we felt that the council or the commissioners might want clarification on. That's not to say that after tonight we can't discuss this anymore. I mean, all we're really looking to do is to say, do we like the direction they're going or not? If not, we need to at least give them some feedback so they can go the other way. Or if we do, let them know that, and then we can continue to work on this thing. Go ahead.
Just one thing, I like that idea that we're opening other possibilities. I think that's a good idea. I hate to bring this up, but is there any further TIF funding that is planned in this process that is anticipated that hasn't yet been brought up?
Well, we did submit a TIF request probably a year and a half ago, or at least a year ago, that's really never been acted on, but we're also changing the plan, and we're doing some other things, so as we solidify the plan, we'll know better where we are financially. Our goal is to eliminate or get any TIF requests down as low as possible.
Okay, I guess from a planning commission's point of view, we also would like to see you get them as low as possible.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that needs to come forward earlier than it did in the past.
Well, we've already made some big strides with DOT stepping up and doing the roundabout at Roby and 51 and Deer Point Trail. We also can show you, I'm pretty sure you can do this, even if there is a small amount of TIF that's needed, you wouldn't have to borrow for it. That should all be generated before it's needed for any of these improvements, because with the way the existing TIF is performing right now, it's generating cash, and this is only going to add to it once we get $45 million worth of increment in this district. And this is already in a district, so that increment's going to count as revenue to the community.
All right, well, and not to get into too many points, but it seems like a lot's being put out here, and the huge amount of changes from the way that was designed with a certain number of home properties, and now the number that's going to be in there and the number that's going to be paying 300,000 range houses. I think we need a lot of time to think about that and see if we really have a market for that. Don't mean to be negative, because I'm really happy you brought some of these ideas forward. And then if I could digress to an even more minimal point, that parallel parking, I just wish we could figure some way to not do the parallel parking, because you see so many people struggle with that. And maybe that's the city population more, but you just see, semis waiting while somebody tries to get their 62 Studebaker into a parking space. So I think the parallel parking would be something that would be a last resort, and I'd just like to throw that in.
Okay. Well, we're looking at some options there, so I mean, we'll continue to do that, and then, I mean, obviously, parallel parking challenge will be totally different out here than it is on Main Street here, with
Sure.
less traffic, so, but, yeah.
Well, it doesn't seem like you're gonna need both up by the park. So what I heard is, given a choice, you would prefer to have the angled parking than the parallel up there?
Especially because of the traffic going in and out to the park might be fairly frequent. So it would just be so much nicer to be able to move that way rather than stop everything and somebody tries to get in. But it's fairly minor to your overall concept, which it's nice to see something new being presented, and it's very, very worth thinking about.
Okay. Well, that's what we're here for, get some more ideas and try and incorporate them, make it a better plan before we come back with a preliminary plat.
Okay.
I kind of piggybacking now that I was just looking at this intersection illustration, again, piggybacking on Tom's parallel parking thing, is there a current traffic engineering thought about angled parking? And I know this isn't, we're kind of like getting into a detail thing right now, but I'm just like thinking about parallel parking compared to vehicles backing out into traffic from an angled parking spot. Any thoughts in traffic engineering wise about that? Or, because I know we're doing it on Whole, at the big park on Whole.
Yeah. I tend to think that there's an opportunity for reverse back-in angle parking that you're starting to see in some communities, as opposed to the angle parking like is shown here. Some of the philosophy is you're more aware of your surroundings when you're parking initially, as opposed to maybe when you're leaving, or being able to see more clearly. So if you can back in an angle, so essentially drive up here and then back into the stall. Takes some people a while to get used to it, but you'll start, if you pay attention, there's some in various communities, I think Middleton and Fitchburg.
Pittsburgh has several spots.
Certainly by their library and other locations has that. And you will see people enter them the wrong way. But I think that there is a safety aspect of it that at least the designers have thought through, that you're driving and then the movement to back in is less of an issue in that fashion. And also when you're leaving your stall, the driver's head is essentially on that side of the vehicle looking up towards the lane of traffic, as opposed to through a bunch of cars. When you're backing out of a stall such as this, the driver's orientation is completely obstructed in this manner. Now, the volume and the speeds and all those things and the factor in, but I think there's a strong case for experimenting in this.
It's been my experience that it can work actually pretty well when you have like a destination park. You know, when you pull in, you back into that angled stall, reverse angled stall, and all the kids pile out in their soccer gear and run onto the field. They're not running around the other side of the car. You can, if you're the coach, you're not trying to unload the bag of soccer balls into the traffic. So it works really well in that situation. It's really a matter of what you think the demand for parking density, how many stalls do you think you'll need on this size park? That's really going to be the question.
But even having the doors open, as you've described, it protects the people that are exiting from the car. So if you do have toddlers and the like, the door is kind of preventing them from going out towards the lane of traffic and encouraging them to go towards the park. So food for thought. It might be a little radical for Stoughton, but I think it's certainly worth exploring.
And one of the things is you got to remember, you got to be going this way on Oak Opening
Yep.
to make it work. My fear is that we'll start out, people are going to come this way, then pull into the stall.
Yeah.
Facing the
Across
wrong
the
way,
traffic.
across traffic. Then
Sure.
in your parking like you do in London, where there's no rules at all. You can face it any direction you want.
Put a divider then in there.
Well, he makes a valid point because people have to think about where they're going when they get there. So if they turn onto this street from Jackson Street, either they're going to have to turn around and do a U-turn,
Or go around the block.
or go around a larger block, or otherwise they really would need to come in on the north side of Oak Opening in order to make that happen. That's really not unless you've got them 90 degrees like you've shown here, which is probably one of your less desirable orientations for both design and maybe safety a little bit, but I understand why they're that way, because it's difficult for people that have not prepared themselves on where they're going before they get there.
Yeah.
Going the wrong way.
The purpose for this illustration is simply to show that if you went diagonal parking, and I personally don't care if it's going this way or if it's going this way in a reverse angle, but it just is how much it goes
Into the park.
into the park area. That's what trying to get that conversation thinking about how much do you want to give up park space for gaining 14 stalls. That's what,
I think Greg's comments were spot on. The amenities of the park are gonna drive the usership, and who's driving to that facility. If you have a fancy toddler facility, parents with kids from other neighborhoods certainly are gonna, and potentially other communities are gonna gravitate to that location. No matter what size it
yeah,
is.
it's really, you know, our next conversation after this meeting is with the park board coming up, I think, next week. So we can begin to talk about what really is the community thinking that this park will, what function and will it play in the overall scheme of things.
You have enough then for,
Sure. Yep. All right. No more questions on this? Any more on the bike trail versus the bike path, or?
No, I think I'd just like to see if the
Yeah, well,
the lanes
I'll
could
think through
continue through.
some options on what might work
Okay.
functionally here.
If more things come up, you can give them to Rodney and he can forward emails to us or whatever, and we'll be working on improving the plan.
I did like the, where is that? The, behind the units that have the private alley separating them on Oak Opening, the continuation, if you scooch that up a little bit, there's the multi-use path, multi-use path there at the bottom of that, behind those units connecting the whole Oak Opening thing, because I, if I'm not mistaken, I thought I saw something from the, like, future plan for the county, a trail going from Stoughton towards Oregon along 138, and, you know, any connector there is wise.
This path would initially connect down and, in theory, loop around the Kettle wetland area. And then some kind of linkage between that loop and a path system that kind of parallels 138. And we've thought about a couple design issues there. One is the 138 is up on a big embankment, and we have to figure out how you get that 138 path down, then back up, because it's really narrow right at the south end of the project. But those are all workable ideas. We can get around that.
Is we
get over to Star School and then drop down to 138.
Could do that. Although you got a good mile between Kettle Park West and Star School Road.
Or if we could run this path up the utility corridor and make that be the curlicue bridge that goes over Highway 51 and connects over so that people can get from this island of homes over the highway and get to the high school and everything. But that's another story. Just trying to connect people to people.
So there's a resolution in the packet, so I don't know if the commission wants to act on it, or if you guys have enough to work with, or what do we need to do?
Well, formal commitments are always good if you want to give us one. I don't know how the resolution reads, but we've got a lot of good feedback at this.
We're missing three. And it would be awfully nice to have their three opinions as well. And so, in my opinion right now is like I said before, I'm pleased with this, very pleased with this. I think some of the suggestions that have been made tonight were good suggestions, bike path extension and so on. I'd be willing to make a motion on it, but not without hearing what the other three have to say on it.
Okay.
So I would prefer to have you go ahead, digest this, work with the parks, and then come back at our meeting, first meeting, or our next meeting in January with what you've come up with, and then hopefully everybody will be here and we can give you
Kind of the general consensus is
the general
going
consensus
down the
as far as I can tell. And I know Tom and they can speak for themselves, but
Yeah, and I think you might be able to get, when you go to Park and Rec, some of the feedback you're looking for on the park and the bike lanes. I think you'll you'll get a little bit more feedback on that, and maybe even the parking, because it's near the park
Yeah,
and,
well, the parking really is, that's up to you guys. Doesn't matter to me what kind of, how much parking you feel you need at this size park, and really that's a park board comment.
yeah,
But
I'm
whether
thinking
it's-
the parking is more almost for the homes that are there than they
Right.
are for the park, so.
Parallel parking is really for the homes adjoining the parallel parkings, the northbound lane of Oak Oak.
Mhm.
And it's really what kind of demand you foresee happening in the park, and that's, whether it's parallel or angle or reverse angle, it really doesn't, from a design standpoint, doesn't matter.
Okay. So as far as process, so, I mean, you go to Park and Rec, you can come, what would they bring back here at the next meeting?
Well, if they've revised their concept at all, if they've incorporated any of the suggestions or comments here and/or the Parks Group, and share that at the next commission meeting, so you can provide them any last guidance before they move to the preliminary plat stage.
Yeah, hopefully everyone will be here. We're supposed to have one more. They had car problems. The other two had commitments. So hopefully we'll have a full group here in January, and we'll ask them ahead of time if they can prepare any additional questions. If we get them before the meeting, we'll forward them to you so you can take them under consideration.
The meeting in January would be the 7th.
It'd be January, 8th. Oh, yeah, you're right,
Seventh.
planning commission is the 7th, yes.
Well,
excuse
no,
me.
it's actually the 14th.
14th?
Yeah.
Okay.
14th.
Excuse me, 2nd, 14th, yeah.
The process would be, we'd get a recommendation from this group, and then eventually it would get to council.
We'll flesh that out. The official item that they really need to have acted on is the preliminary plat and the final plat, and then the associated development agreements. The concept stage is really to take feedback, initial comments from the groups to help them refine their submittal before they submit their preliminary plat and materials.
And the preliminary plat comes here.
Preliminary plat comes here. Preliminary plat is also acted on by the council.
At some point, is there public comment involved in there?
Part of the preliminary
for
planning
preliminary
process.
plat?
Yep.
Okay.
So it's just a question of,
There's rezoning as well, so, I mean, I think there's, yeah, we haven't rezoned this yet, so there's
Right.
rezoning as well as a plating process for hearing testimony.
So it sounds like this could take us right into the spring, and I'm not sure what your timetable is as far as getting the plat approval.
Well, as long as March 1st is spring, we're good with that.
What year was that?
We'll see on Groundhog's Day.
We just need to keep working, as efficiently as we can. I mean, our goal is to actually get something in the ground as early as we can, so, we'd like to have some of those single-family lots available in August, potentially.
Okay. Do you have some, Tom?
Yes, I just think it would be nice to say that, a lot of good ideas were presented and positively received, but we need more information and would be able to do so at the next meeting, to move forward. But a very good start in putting things together, what different people are concerned about and some good ideas.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thanks
for
for
your
coming
time.
out.
Yep.
Yep. See you next month. Okay. Next item is a request by Leon Wagner for extraterritorial land division at 1848 US Highway 51, Town of Dunn.
This particular request actually creates an additional developable parcel. Of particular note, I think it's noteworthy, at least at some level, it's already been provided that there will be no additional vehicular access onto 51. They're sharing, they have a 30-foot shared access easement, so they'll be utilizing one common access point for these two parcels. Just for orientation, maybe I should have started with that. This is adjacent to Good Shepherd by the Lake church along Highway 51. And this, I think, has already been through the town of Dunn already for,
That house is for sale right now, is it not?
I think this one's for sale, and, you know, I think there's somebody interested in the parcel to build on. Because this used to be associated with the church. I think they've kind of divested from that and are marketing it.
Any questions on this one?
And is this coming to us first, or was the township?
I think it's already been through the town. I didn't, but
Okay.
Is this the one with-
irrespective, I don't think,
I think it's approved.
it's not anything that we would highlight as being objectionable on the city's
Yeah.
review.
This is the one they asked to be put on for council tomorrow night.
Correct.
So we're trying to accommodate them, and we can explain that at council tomorrow night. You know, we didn't really anticipate any problems, but go ahead.
Rodney, you did not have any issues with this, correct?
That's correct. The one,
Yep.
safety concern, I think they've addressed by
Okay.
having a common access point as opposed to two separate driveway
Okay, then
access.
I'd make a motion to recommend to council approval.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second, any discussion on this one? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed, that carries. Item number 10 is request to approve the sale of city-owned property at 3201 Macomb Road for future development.
As part of your role as a planning commission, the planning commission actually has to approve the sale of city property. This particular parcel of land is owned by the city / Stoughton Utilities. Stoughton Utilities has constructed their substation on this area. We're in the process of marketing and/or selling this larger chunk of land, about 10 and a half acres. And we're really just hoping that the planning commission would endorse that as not a particular sale details, but to allow the city to acknowledge approval to move forward with the sale of this property.
So moved.
There's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
And a second. Any discussion? Basically, we ran it through the utilities committee, so they're on board as well. And we've had one conversation at finance, and we anticipate having more. But as Rodney said, we typically run them through the planning commission since it's city-owned property, even though it's originated with utilities. And they're done with their work, so that's why the timing is now. They're done with their substation, so they have no further use for the land. Go ahead.
I don't know if you pointed out, but that block, right, yes, that portion right up there, Rodney, is already, Forward Development's property. Yeah, that's already their property, and so they're looking to buy the rest of this. And it just makes perfect sense for them to do that.
What we're looking at right now isn't
We're just authorizing the sale of.
that it be for sale,
To support the sale of
the
city
sale.
property, not the,
Okay.
to any particular group or any details of
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any more conversation on that? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed, that carries. Number 11 is proposed ordinance amendment to section 2-376 of the Stoughton Municipal Code.
We heard from the last commission meeting, we're trying to take care of some low-hanging fruit, but you can see that there's some items that we think are appropriate to change in the composition of the plan commission. And you can see most of them are straightforward. Building inspector hasn't been a person doing anything with the plan commission for a number of years. The zoning administrator certainly has. And there was duplicative language. This last sentence is also found in areas above. So we're trying to clean up the language of this particular section of the code. And that's what it's presented here for tonight.
Any questions or on that?
Basically, this is just cleaning it up, making it compatible with what we already are doing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's practice.
It's cleaning up the practice.
Yep.
You can recognize a building inspector hasn't been a secretary or serving on the commission since
I move to approve.
the middle 90s.
There's a motion
I'll second.
and a second. Any discussion? So it looks like these are ordinances, so these will go to council. There'll be 2 readings, so they'll have a whack at it as well, but it seems pretty self-explanatory. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. That one carries. Item number 12 is proposed amendment to planning and development fee schedule. This one might be a little bit more complicated.
We hope that it's not too complicated, but the items in red on the sheet and highlighted or underlined are the additions. You can see demolition language hasn't been specifically enumerated in our fee structure. Raisings had been, but not always is a demolition a complete raising of a structure. There may be demolition aspects of a facility that would be appropriate to be reviewed. That's the addition there. Then there's we're proposing some fee changes related to the Planning Commission site plan or SIP plan review. You can recognize there's a fair amount of time and effort at a staff level that goes into even getting this material before you as a group. So that's the rationale for this particular one. Residential zoning fee, proposing a change here. While they may sound simple, sheds, fences, pools, detached garages, they require a lot of review. A lot of time where we actually are out in the field verifying plans that they've submitted and verifying the installations. $75 may not even cover our commitment on most of those as well, but for that as well as commercial, we believe that there's a warranted increase in those particular fees to a modest amount. Stormwater management and erosion control fees, slight increase from 0.015 cent to 0.02 cents, and then erosion control from 0.006 cents to 0.008. What we do and what we found is in the event that their fees don't cover our actual costs in these situations, we end up billing them the balance. And what we found is we're sending out bills because this fee is very low, or lower than most of our activities on these type of projects. So we're proposing that the fee reflect the normal time and effort that we spend on those particular review projects and inspections. Zoning letters. We actually are requested by agencies, whether it's might even be a title company or some other evaluation organization wanting to confirm zoning on a particular parcel. We have to author letters for that, much like when the clerk's office does a special assessment review. They charge a fee to evaluate to make sure that the proper fees are being billed at closing for properties. We believe that there's an appropriate amount here for this type of work as well. Downtown overlay zoning district reviews. Again, we just went through a major effort to refine that ordinance, but you can see as some of the applications can become very involved, and we certainly believe that there's some fee that should be applicable to that type of activity as well. So that's the substance of the additional fees or modifications to the fee structure for our department that we're proposing. Questions? Do you need to absorb it more? Do you want to table it? I mean, we're wanting to have the dialogue. We think there's merit in these requests, but certainly we're open to continued discussion or elaboration if necessary.
Go ahead. Who wants to go
Well,
first?
I was just wondering, since we are, half a commission this evening, if we should get input from the other three commissioners on this.
That's fine.
To you.
Do you have
It's
any
up- it's up to
initial
your group.
thoughts yourself, or?
Sounds reasonable to me.
Okay.
Everything that's presented there, I mean, some of these things, I'm just kind of wondering if they're enough, considering, I don't know how much work is in, like, when you were, the decks and, additions. I don't know how much time is involved with when you guys have to review that stuff, and, from the time somebody walks in or calls, or how many hours are actually involved in doing that.
Too many in a day.
Some of them are very, require a lot of attention, a lot of issues, a lot of rework and evaluation of plans. Some get submitted, paying good attention to detail.
I mean, if you
and
think
can move
about
through the
it,
system.
when we were going through the ordinance and we had a few people that came in to try to get exceptions for tearing down an old garage or something that was in a historic district. Those are the examples where, we have to physically go out there and look and see what it is that they're gonna, to demo, and then process it based on those visits. So I think that's where we're trying to recoup some of our costs, because we want to be able to do that, but if we can't even recoup our cost, it makes it kind of challenging to commit the time. So I think there were a few examples that came through in the last year while we were working on that ordinance, especially under the raising and demolition part, that they do require extra attention. And I know these guys, they're not waiting around for things to do. They're out there, they're busy.
Yeah, I've seen Rodney out there with his little thing, wheelie-dealy, measuring and.
There's an art to that. Haven't figured it out yet, otherwise I'd be out there with them.
But it's off tape.
I think it'd be a good idea to wait for the other three, even though I fully agree with it, especially having watched the Popeye movie where he comes in, and I don't know if anybody saw that. Comes in, he gets fined for the tax man's fining him for everything he does as he walks along, with Robin Williams. That was great. But these things are all, I mean, percentage-wise, they seem to be higher, like by a third, except they're all small fees to begin with, and they need to be carried by the part of the city that expends the money, and that's makes us more streamlined and more accurate. So I think we should do it, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to set it aside till the next meeting, and I'm
Sure.
pretty sure it would go forward.
Okay. Greg?
Yeah, is there any time-sensitive issue here? Rodney,
No,
is it okay with?
It's fine if it gets tabled. We're open to it. We're just presenting what our observations and records.
And it would be, once approved and then goes, because it is an ordinance change, right?
It's actually not an ordinance. This isn't a resolution for,
Oh, it is a resolution, okay.
Resolution
So
for
it
fees.
would be effective whenever the
I mean,
mayor's on.
generally, we try to have them become effective, near the first quarter, January-ish. But I think in mid-January, oftentimes our fees have gone into effect.
February something.
We might already project.
February 1st.
Yeah, so we already projected.
That was
That it was
projected.
gonna take another commission meeting and one council
Well,
meeting.
if you're okay with that, then I'd
Yeah.
just make a motion to table that until,
Yeah, that's fine. I think what you're gonna see is, we're gonna be looking at more things other than just these. We're gonna be looking at, stuff that we license as well, especially if we're gonna expand, the bees and the chickens and those sorts of things, because those also require staff time to go out and inspect. And we wanna be able to do that to make sure things are safe and people are compliant. And the way to do that is to at least recoup some of our costs and the ability to do that.
I got the motion, you have a second.
Second on the table.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None opposed? That carries. Future agenda items?
There's a number of ordinances. You saw the menu of ordinances that we'll be working to bring back to you over the course of the next year. Certainly the conceptual plan related to Kettle Park West, Phase 2 and others. will be coming forward.
This,
You know, yeah, the fee structure certainly will come back again. And hopefully we'll be starting to see some stuff related to the riverfront redevelopment at the planning commission level as well.
I had a specific question about the chickens.
yeah,
Do we know when that'll be coming back to us?
Next month. It's public hearing set up.
Be it next? in
Next, yeah,
January?
January, yeah.
Okay.
okay. Any other future agenda items? Things you've been dying to do?
Move to adjourn?
We didn't have time last year because of the ordinances that we're working
Oh,
on.
God, I think.
Yeah, well, there's gonna be enough. So,
Move to adjourn.
there's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second?
And a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed? Thank you very much.